So I was thinking about a couple random things earlier, and I just thought we'd have a small little conversation, if you will. So thanks for hanging out here, Squirrel Tribe. So I was talking to my husband a couple days ago about going back into the workforce, corporate America, if you will, or maybe like waiting tables, because I like those kind of things. Well, I don't like corporate America, but I like waiting tables. And I was telling him it's almost summertime, right? Spring, summer, and where we live, it's very, very busy in those times. I can make some really good money waiting tables because I'm a very, very good waitress. Nothing wrong with waiting tables. I like it because it gets you the ability to meet a ton of different people, and it keeps you on your feet all day, which is a nice way to burn a couple calories, as long as you don't eat all the food in the back of the kitchen when you're working at restaurants, right? But we started talking randomly about that. And I was like, well, I thought about going to get a job at the high school that my daughter's going to be going to, because working for the school system would give me certain benefits, and then I'd have the summers off with her still, whatever. But then I was like, I don't want to go back to the 40-hour work week. There's nothing wrong with me not wanting to do that, right? But the thing is, a lot of people don't realize that the 40-hour work week shouldn't be a thing. Like, the 40-hour work week was invented when it was a man going to work and a woman staying home and taking care of the house and the kids and things like that. When there were two people in a home, in a family, and one of them worked and one of them was basically everything else, if you will. And then somehow over time, I think is when, the wars and stuff, then women ended up having to go into work and things like that. And then it just never changed. And neither did the 40-hour work week. I'm pretty sure I remember this correctly. Henry Ford is the one who came up with the 40-hour work week so that he could make people work 8-hour shifts at his factories, the car factories. My camera is so bright right now. I don't know what's going on. Sorry, it looks like I'm in Ghost or something. So he created this 40-hour work week, and there's so many other countries that don't do that work 4 days a week, 32 hours, 4 days a week. There's no 5-day-a-week, 40-hour work weeks, none of that kind of stuff. And I know that there's a lot of places inside the US that are thinking about adopting that scenario of a 4-day work week. And although I'm not in corporate America anymore, I can tell you when I was in corporate America, a 4-day work week would have been amazing. But it's so ingrained in a lot of us to work, grind all the time. And then when you're off work, you're still thinking about work. You're working way more hours than you need to or want to because you're trying to get these things done because you feel this corporate pressure and all this other stuff. So it's going to be really hard, I think, for the United States itself to move to a 4-day work week and not feel it, I guess you could say, across the board for a lot of people, a lot of industries at the same time. Like, I wonder how that would work. I'm guessing you just stagger the way you do with like shifts at the fire department, shifts at the police station, shifts at restaurants. Some people work these hours, then somebody comes in and works these hours, and it would just be a continuous kind of thing. Can you imagine if we went back to those days where everything was closed on Sundays? I remember that when I was little. On Sundays, you stayed home because that was the Lord's day. You went to church. Maybe you went to a restaurant. Some restaurants would be open, but you weren't going to clothing stores. You weren't going to the malls. You weren't going to anything like that because they were closed on Sundays. Those were days for families to be families. Now we don't have those days anymore. There's barely any one specific day that that families get to hang out together if both parents are working. You know what I mean? A lot of you I know what I mean with both working. When my husband and I were both in corporate America, I ended up working weekends and he had weekends off. So it was great for him and our daughter because they got to spend the weekends together while I was at work. And then, if I had a weekend off and he needed to go into work for something, she and I hung out, whatever. During the week, we're both working anywhere from 48 to 60 hours a week each. That's very little time with each other. It's very little time with our daughter. There's very little time with friends or literally doing anything outside of grinding to make money so you can turn around and pay a bill for a house that you're barely in because you're working all the time, and for, your car that you drive to work and back home, and for vacations for those, 3 days that your employer will let you off or something like that. It's just the American dream is no longer what it used to be because of the way corporate America has taken over that American dream. We talk about all the time here how the American dream used to be, you know, father, mother, 2.5 kids, and I guess the 0.5 is the dog, and a house and a white picket fence. And that's what a lot of people work towards. And now it's more like, you know, that American dream, it can't really be that anymore, because that American dream was built when it was about the wife staying home and taking care of the house and the kids, and the husband going to work. And now you have husband, husband, wife, wife, husband, wife, and then, you know, single man, single woman, and just all kinds of stuff going on. So you can't have that same scenario. You can't have that same dream when the how to phrase this one, when the push for diversity in relationships is so strong, it makes it so that the American dream kind of sort of has to change along with it. So then, like, what's the new American dream? Having enough money to keep your head above water? Or is it, you know, having the ability to just have a place to live that has a bathroom and a bed and a kitchen? Like, I don't know what the new American dream is anymore. I know for some people, the American dream is to, you know, not be persecuted for the things that they believe and the people they love and the things that they want. And I can understand that being a dream. I'm in an interracial marriage, so I can understand the not wanting persecution for who you love and things like that. But I do think that where we are today is just so weird. 2024, I was born in 1982, and I can literally think back to what it was like when I was little and what it's like now for my daughter at 14. And my 14 and her 14 are literally worlds apart. It is crazy. So then if I'm thinking, well, my mom's 14 versus my 14, I'm sure she felt the exact same way, how it was such a massive difference. So for my mom's 14 and my daughter's 14, I know that's like galaxies different. So I feel like there's been a lot of, in society, I guess you could say, disconnect, where older generations don't understand younger generations and younger generations don't understand older generations. And I don't think it's the fault of the people. I think it's because of how much has changed technology-wise, social-wise, just economy-wise. Like, there have been so many changes that it's hard for a lot of people to understand where people before them came from and what life was like for them and why they want the things that they want versus, you know, where we are now, and why can't you just want these things and stuff like that. Just random. We were watching, I was watching on Hulu yesterday. I've been watching this show, Once Upon a Time. A friend, Sarah, on YouTube mentioned it. She's like, you might like it because I like Disney cartoons and stuff like that. From when I was younger, they bring me happy memories. And I like Disney style stuff. And Once Upon a Time is based off of Disney characters, right? So I'm watching it on Hulu because they have it on there. And I notice it, I don't have the paid one where you get to skip all of the commercials or whatnot on Hulu. So I get commercials, and every third or fourth commercial is in Spanish. And I remember thinking, well, I didn't sign up for this when it didn't ask me if I speak Spanish. So why am I being shown Spanish commercials? I can understand some of it based off of, you know, growing up in Atlanta and where I worked and the things that I did and the people that I knew. I can understand a lot of Spanish, and I can speak some of it if necessary. Fluent? No, not at all. But enough to get by and have like a ish kind of conversation if necessary, right? I can fake my way through some of it and hand gesture like El Baño, like, I gotta pee, or I'm hungry, like, food, right? Whatever, the normal stuff. But I just think it's interesting. There's so many more Spanish commercials on TV aimed at buying things, like different products and things like that, especially because the more Spanish commercials I see, the more I realize that a lot of corporations are noticing how many migrants or immigrants, or however you want to phrase that are coming into the country, and they know they've got money. And so they're like, hey, listen, we can't only advertise to people who speak English. We need to advertise to this large Spanish community that's coming into our country, because they're going to need to buy stuff too. And so if we talk to them, then they'll be like, oh, they understand us, and we'll go spend money there. Because again, at the end of the day, it's always profit over people. It's about making as much money as possible. But it's always been interesting to me. We have a very, very large Asian community in the United States too, whether it's Japanese, Korean, or Chinese, but I never see Japanese, Korean, or Chinese commercials on TV, but I see Spanish commercials all the time. And Spanish isn't even the most spoken language. Portuguese technically would be, but the commercials aren't in Portuguese, which makes me realize that these commercials are being aimed at the people who are literally coming over the Texas-Mexico border. It's for the people from South America that speak Spanish, not from Brazil and other places that speak Portuguese and stuff like that. It's just very interesting how we have this influx of people and all of a sudden the manufacturers and the advertisers are like, jump on it. It's just more money for us. Just a random thought I had. All of these are just random thoughts that I just wanted to string together and just talk to you guys about. And I'm curious how you feel about any of the things about, you know, the difference in generations before and now, the difference in advertising, if you guys have seen it too, because it used to be also advertising was white man, white woman, or black man, black woman, or Asian man, Asian woman in commercials. And now it's interracial couples. Now it's man, man, woman, woman. Now it's, you can't tell who that is because they're non-binary. You have no idea what's going on. Next thing you know, it's going to be, I don't know, a person dressed up as a cat and another person dressed up as a cat. And that's the next one, the loving couple. It's just so weird that the things that are now new norms, because my daughter, 14, she's in middle school. And so for her, the norm is people with pronouns. I go by she, her. I go by they, them. I go by he, him. I'm non-binary. I'm whatever. It's normal to her. Whereas for me and for, I'm sure a lot of y'all, that's not normal because that's not how we grew up. We grew up that there's a man, there's a woman, you're a girl or you're a guy, you're a she or you're a he. There's nothing else because there's nothing else. But she, because she is of the age that she is, sees all these other things. And so she's like, well, you know, you get people at school going, oh, I'm a they, or I'm a she, but definitely he or whatever else. And I'm like, well, how do you deal with that? And she's like, it's not up to me what they want to be called. You know, if they want to be called Chuck, I'll call him Chuck. It's like, that's not my problem. It doesn't affect me at all, whatever. But she knows that there's a difference, that there's only men and only women, and you cannot change any of that stuff. But she looks at it as they're, you know, my peers, they're my friends, and I'm not going to make them feel bad because they're confused or whatever else. And I commend her for that because I think a lot of adults don't have that same thought process of letting people be who they want to be without making them feel bad for it. I'm guilty of that myself a lot. I know that. And it's not on purpose. And I don't realize it until I've said something. And then I'm like, oh, that probably hurt somebody's feelings. And it's not intentional. It's just my thoughts and the way I think. I'm not going to call a man, ma'am, and I'm not going to call a woman, sir. It's just not going to happen. F your feelings. That's how I feel about it. That's my opinions. And not everybody's going to agree with it. And that's perfectly fine. But I'm not going to walk up to somebody and out of nowhere be like, hey, you know you're a man, right? Or hey, you know you're a woman, right? I'm not going to do that. That's not me either. That's hateful, and I'm not hateful. I'm just not going to fall in line with certain things. So that's that. So there's my random squirrel talk for Friday. Thanks for coming to my squirrel talk today. Today's Sunday. Geez, y'all. My random, Sunday squirrel talk. There we go. That's what it was. It was a Sunday squirrel talk. Thanks for coming to my Sunday squirrel talk. I hope you guys enjoyed that. And if not, that's okay too, because it's my opinions and my thoughts, and I wanted to share them with y'all. So I love you immensely. Love your thoughts and comments, if you don't mind, in the comment section. If you don't want to, that's fine too. And Maxie Poo knocked out in the corner over there. Time to go get dinner started for later. Put something in the crock pot for a little bit later. And I think that's about it. See y'all guys again tomorrow. Bye.